Imagine you're an actor. A huge movie, the most important film ever made. You've been given a role, a real one, right in the middle of the story. The cameras are rolling, the director is watching, the whole story is waiting on your next line, and then you realize something. You've forgotten the script. Not just your lines, the whole story. You don't know what happened before you got here. You don't know where it's going. You don't even know what kind of movie you're in. So you do the only thing you can. You improvise. And it goes badly. Here's the thing. This isn't just a movie problem. This is what most people who follow God are actually doing every single day. Every great story has a structure, a beginning, a middle, an end. And the story the Bible tells, the story that holds the entire universe together, has 5 acts. Act 1, creation. God makes everything good. He makes people to know Him and to be known by Him, the best possible beginning. Act 2, shattering. People choose to go their own way. Everything breaks. The relationship between God and people, shattered. Between people and each other, shattered. Between people and the world itself, shattered. A real mess, and it needs a hero. Act 3, rescue. God sends one, Jesus. The champion enters the story. He lives perfectly. He dies in place of everyone who broke it. He rises, the rescue complete. Act 4, right now. The rescue has happened, but the world isn't fully restored yet. We live in the middle, the in-between, the place where the rescue is being worked out, in real people, in real lives, one ordinary day at a time. Act 5, everything made new. The shattered is finally fixed for good. Here's the question that changes everything. Do you know which act you're living in? You're in Act 4, right now, today. Not Act 2. The shattering is not the last word. Not Act 5, not yet. Act 4, the middle of the rescue, the part where God is renewing everything. And here is where it gets interesting, because Act 4 is full of things to do. The Apostle Peter, one of Jesus' closest friends, wrote a letter about it, and he gave a list. Good character, spiritual understanding, alert discipline, passionate patience, reverent wonder, warm friendliness, generous love. And when you read that, you might feel one of 2 things. Stay with me, because which one you feel tells you everything. Here is a question. You're driving down a highway. The side of the road is covered in trash. Bags, bottles, cardboard, miles and miles of it. Someone hands you a garbage bag and says, "Clean it up." How do you feel? Probably exhausted, just thinking about it. Now, a different scene. You walk into the largest library you have ever seen. Books everywhere, floor to ceiling, in every direction, and it's all about something you love. Someone says, "Read whatever you want." How do you feel? Maybe a little overwhelmed, but in a good way. Here is the thing. That list from Peter, good character, patience, love, all of it, it's a lot of work, no question. But for most people, it feels like highway trash. Heavy, endless, never done. And it was never meant to feel that way. It was meant to feel like the library. So why does it feel like trash? Peter knew this problem was coming. His answer comes almost immediately in the same letter. Describing the exhausted trash picker, he says something that explains everything. He says, "He is nearsighted and blind, having forgotten." 3 conditions: nearsighted, blind, having forgotten. There's a name for this, spiritual amnesia. And here is how it works. When you forget the story you are in, when you lose sight of Act 1, 2, and 3, something slowly changes. Prayer starts to feel like a checkbox. Reading the Bible starts to feel like homework. Serving other people starts to feel like something you have to do, not something you want to do. Not because you're a bad person, because you forgot something. You forgot what it cost to rescue you. You forgot how broken things really were. You forgot that you're not just going through motions, you're living inside the most important story ever told. And when the story feels small, your life inside it starts to feel meaningless. Here's one of the most powerful pictures I know. Two people, same letter, same words. One is a rule keeper. He has studied the law his whole life. He takes it seriously. He opens the letter, reads every line carefully, makes sure nothing is missed, then closes it. Done. Next task. The other person just received a letter from the person they love most in the entire world. They open it, and they can barely breathe. They read it once. They read it again. They read their favorite parts out loud. They put it in their pocket and think about it all day. Same letter, same words, completely different experience. Which one are you? When you open the Bible, are you checking a box? Or are you reading a letter from someone who loves you more than you can understand? Because here's the secret. The difference between them isn't willpower. It isn't discipline. It's memory. If this is landing differently than you expected, stay with it. Because we're about to talk about the actual cure. Not try harder, not do better. The real answer. And it might surprise you. So how do you move from the rule keeper to the lover? How does the highway become a library? Here's the key. Remembrance. You have to remember how big the rescue was. Not in a surface way. Not just that Jesus died for my sins and move on. Deeper than that. How broken was I really? And how much did it actually cost to fix it? Here is why this matters. Most of us spend a lot of energy minimizing how broken things were. I'm not that bad. I'm only human. Yeah, I messed up, but look at what I've been through. And when you make the problem smaller, you make the rescue smaller too. A small problem only needs a small solution, but a massive, world-breaking, hope-stealing problem, that needs a hero willing to go to extraordinary lengths. And that is exactly what happened. God looked at the broken world, at you, at the whole mess, and he didn't send a memo. He sent himself. When you truly understand what you were rescued from, the rescue stops being background noise. It becomes the most important thing that has ever happened. And when that is the most important thing, everything changes. You pray differently. You serve differently. You love differently. Not because you have to, because you can't help it. But maybe you're thinking, okay, I get it, but I still feel like the rule keeper. I still go through the motions. How does that actually change? Honest answer, you cannot fight an old habit with willpower. You cannot fight an old love with more discipline. You can only fight an old love with a bigger one. We all love things that aren't helping us. The approval of other people, the comfort of staying safe, the feeling of being in control. And you can tell yourself to stop loving those things all day long. It doesn't work. What works is finding something better to love. The people who live Act 4 most fully, they are not the most disciplined people in the world. They are the most in love with the story, in love with the rescue, in love with the God who picked up the rust-stained shirt and wore it with pride. When that love grows, the old loves start to lose their grip. Not all at once, not perfectly, but one day at a time. That is what Act 4 looks like. You are in Act 4, the most important act in the most important story ever told. Not a footnote, not a background character, a real role, real lines, a real part that only you can play. And the only way to live it well is to remember the story. Remember Act 1, you were made for something good. Remember Act 2, the breaking was real. Remember Act 3, the rescue was real. And then live Act 4, not as someone checking boxes, not as someone earning their place, as someone who has been found, rescued, adopted, and sent back in with a part to play, a story to live, and a love big enough to do it with. These are our storied lives.